You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel. And as always, it's great to see you here.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. And a slightly different change in title since the last time. Last time I was here, I was the chairman of the Sheerness branch, but now I'm actually the chairman of the Isle of Sheppey branch. I'll just explain that so people who are listening can understand that. I mean, clearly, the Sheerness branch was formed in 1922, I believe, and it's been running since then. But there's a lot of branches on the island which have closed, notably Minster, Eastchurch, Laysdown, and sadly, yesterday, the Queenborough branch, which was a sub-branch of Sheerness, had to lay up its standard in the church at Queenborough in a formal service. And the opportune time then was to actually try and create a single branch which was representative of all the island. And we've been given that permission from the head office. The Royal British Legion has to go through a formal committee. And so the Sheerness branch will lay up its standard. A new standard for the Isle of Sheppey will be formed. We hope to do that in the new year, but technically, as from now, it is the Isle of Sheppey branch and not the Sheerness branch, so it's representative of the whole of the island, and that enables us to spread our wings, so to speak, across the whole of the island in terms of the poppy appeal, which is what I'm here to talk a little bit about tonight. But if I may, the first thing I'd like to just talk a little bit about is our history, the Royal British Legion history, if I may.
Yep, that's great.
Okay. Well, the British Legion, and I use the word British Legion, not the Royal British Legion, was formed on the 15th of May, 1921, bringing together the four national organisations of ex-servicemen that established themselves after the First World War. The main purpose of the Legion was straightforward: to care for those who had suffered as a result of service in the armed forces during the war, whether through their own service or through that of a husband, father or son. The suffering took many forms: the effect of a war wound on a man's ability to earn a living and support his family, or a war widow's struggle to give her children an education. Even those who had come through the war relatively unscathed struggled with employment. As a result of the war, Britain's economy plummeted, and in 1921 there were 2 million unemployed. And you've got to put that into context of the actual population at that time. Over 6 million men had served in the war, 725,000 never returned. Of those who came back, 1.75 million had suffered some kind of disability, and half of these were permanently disabled. Added to this figure were the families who depended on those who had gone to war, the wives and children, widows and orphans, as well as the parents who had lost sons in the war, who often contributed to the household income. Now, the situation so moved Lancastrian Lance Bombardier Tom Lister that he decided that if the government was unable or unwilling to do anything to improve the lives of ex-servicemen, he would do something about it himself. This eventually led to the formation of the British Legion. When the Legion's leaders looked around them, they saw the gigantic task of looking after those who had suffered in the recent war, and also the need to prevent further sacrifice by reminding the nation of the human cost of war and to work actively for peace. By the time of the Legion's formation in 1921, the tradition of an annual 2-minute silence in memory of the dead had been established. The first ever Poppy Peal was held that year, with the first Poppy Day on the 11th of November 1921. Now, the British Legion was granted royal status in 1971 and extended its membership to serving members of Her Majesty's Armed Forces, as well as ex-servicemen in 1981. Now, anyone can become a member of the Royal British Legion, and we welcome men and women of all ages, whether they have served in the armed forces or not, to continue the work that was begun nearly 100 years ago.
And Ian, I know you next want to talk a little bit about this new branding, Live On, that we've heard about.
Yeah, I'm delighted you've asked me that question, because the Legion was founded by veterans after the First World War, And a century on from the start of that conflict, we're still helping today's servicemen and women, veterans, and their families in almost every aspect of daily life. And we also champion remembrance, safeguarding the memory of those who have given their lives for our freedom through remembrance education and events. Now, we've got a new strapline called Live On. Launched with the 2014 Poppy Appeal, the Legion has updated its look and feel, giving it a fresh, modern and hopeful expression that joins up our remembrance and welfare work. We want people to understand that the Poppy is not just about remembrance, it's also about providing hope for the armed forces communities of all ages throughout the year. Live On, which is a trademark of the Royal British Legion, is a simple and memorable way to link our twin commitments to the memory of the fallen and the future of the living. It's also about presenting our charity in a lighter, cleaner way. Live On describes both equally important parts of our work. As custodians of remembrance, we ensure the memories of those who have fought and sacrificed in the British Armed Forces live on through the generations, and through our welfare work, we help the British Armed Forces veterans and their families to live on a more hopeful future. So we have phrased out the strapline shoulder to shoulder with all who serve, and replaced it with Live On, to the memory of the fallen and the future of the living. Now, the 2014 Poppy Appeal was the first phase of the Live On journey, but we are not confining its use to the Poppy Appeal or remembrance. It is being used as an embedded part of the Legion's work all year round, and you can probably see that as we expand that within all the publicity materials that come out from the Royal British Legion. So just a reminder, Live On is to the memory of the fallen and the future of the living. And after the next record, I'll talk a little bit about the remembrance aspects.
We are at the moment talking to Ian Goodwin from the Royal British Legion here on Sheppey. And Ian, I know you next wanted to talk about remembrance.
Yeah, remembrance. Remembrance Sunday this year falls on the 8th of November 2015. And as probably a lot of your listeners are aware, it's a day for the nation to remember and honour those who have sacrificed themselves to secure and protect our freedom. And you always see this with the cenotaph and the ceremonies that go on there. And we have our own ceremony in Sheerness at the War Memorial there, which always starts at 11 o'clock on Remembrance Sunday. We also do a 2-minute silence, which is held each year at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, which marks the end of the First World War. It is a day to remember and honour those who have paid the price for our freedom then and now. Great Britain still believes strongly in remembering those who fought, not only in the World Wars, but more than 12,000 British servicemen and women who have been killed or injured since 1945. The Royal British Legion supports silences observed during both Remembrance Sunday services and on the 11th of November, which is called Armistice Day itself. And the act of remembrance rightly has a place in and impact on our lives, no matter which day of the week it might fall upon. So that's the part of the Live On, the first part of it, in terms of the act of remembrance. And again, we will be doing that officially and formally at the War Memorial on the 8th of November 2015. We'll also go to Halfway Cemetery, and they're starting at 10:30 at Halfway Cemetery on the 11th of November. We always have the Armistice service there at the Cross. Very moving ceremony. I went there last year. Now that brings me on nicely to one of the big things in the British Legion calendar, which is the Poppy Appeal. Now, the Royal British Legion, if you read their annual accounts, they get somewhere in the region, through charities and through all the events that they do, somewhere in the region of £130 million a year. And they actually spend significant amounts of money each day on welfare the second aspect of things. Sorry, someone was knocking on the door and it was just disturbing me. So, and they have that welfare aspect on there. So, in terms of that, the actual poppy appeal itself raises somewhere in the region of about £45 million, £47 million a year. And clearly with the advent of the 2014, which was the 100th celebrations last year, we had a good turnout and we had a good poppy appeal last year, and we hope to break it this year. We broke our record. The Sheerness branch raised to just over 17,500, I think, at the end, and we're going to endeavour to try and break that this year. But if you think about it, quite a lot of people turned up as well to the 2014 Remembrance Sunday service, and we were delighted at that. We estimated there was somewhere in the region of about 400 people that turned up to that particular event. So we'll get out the poppies, we'll get out that, and we'll be launching our coffee morning and poppy launch on the 24th of October. We always do it at the Holy Trinity Church in Sheerness. We have the Gardens of Remembrance ceremony there, and clearly that will lead us up, and we'll be getting out the people doing the poppy appeals, taking in all the monies, and as I say, contributes quite a significant amount, and we distribute those monies not just to poppy but throughout the whole of the year. We give a lot to other charities like Help for Heroes. They get quite a substantial amount of our monies, particularly to help those veterans and those heroes who have been injured during the war, which is part of that second part of that live on type activity. So if anyone wants to come down and see the coffee morning and the poppy launch and the garden and remembrance, it's on Saturday the 24th of October. We normally kick off about 10 o'clock in the morning, and just to make sure people are aware, Remembrance Sunday is on the 8th of November. If you can get down to the actual war memorial in Sheerness by about 10:30, 10:45, the ceremony kicks off starts at 11 o'clock. And the final thing I just wanted to mention this evening is to thank you, Daniel, for having me. But we do welcome new members, and meetings of our branch are held on the first Monday of each month at the Co-op Club, St George's Avenue, Sheerness, at 7:30. And our next branch, which is an AGM, will be on the 5th of October, Monday the 5th of October. And if you can't make that one, Monday the 2nd of November, which is another branch meeting, and we're always welcoming new members. And in the 2.5 years since I've been involved in the Legion, particularly as the chairman, because I just joined because they were going to close the actual branch because they couldn't get a chairman, so I'd stand in, and I'm still standing in 2.5 years later. We've now got our 100th member within the branch, so we're hoping to get more as we grow the Isle of Sheppey, and as you're probably aware, where the last couple of years we've won a couple of county trophies for basically efficiency and effectiveness and recruitment within the particular branch of what is now the Isle of Sheppey. And next year we may go for a national award to see if we can get a national award, which will be representative across the entire country and not just the county of Kent. So thank you very much, and best wishes to everyone. And when you see us out with our poppies and poppy, please give generously and wear your poppy with pride. Thank you very much.
Ian, as always, thank you very much once again for coming along, and we look forward to seeing you next time. That is Ian Goodwin, all as part of the regular slot we do with the Royal British Legion this evening.